back to another episode of Cinema d'Amore. I'm your host, Chuck, joined by
Justin.
And we're, continuing on with this thing where we talk about movies. I think we might have gone over it a few times what we're doing. And we're connecting. We're still on that. We're connecting every movie. So I guess you already made a guess as to how our film this week, Apostle, connects to our last film, The Ritual. It was incorrect what you guessed to me, but maybe you have a better guess this time.
My initial guess was they were both Netflix movies. I think having watched it, Cults? Is it Cults?
It is not. I mean, that is a very strong connection between the two films, but it wasn't why I picked it.
Well, Dan Stevens isn't in both of them.
He is not. Unfortunately, he's not.
Kind of like a pagan god of some sort.
No, you're getting colder there. I'll give you. I'll connect you back to more of a hint. It does have something to do with the directors of these films, and we did bring it up. Well, I brought it up the last episode. What they have in common.
They're British. I don't even know. I don't remember. We recorded 2 weeks ago. I do not remember.
You don't have these conversations burned into your memory? Come on.
Is it fire? Being burned?
We'll say fire in what way?
Just burning.
Burning. Yeah. I mean, both cults do end in fire.
People in trees, things in trees.
There were both have things. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are similar in both these movies, but none of them.
Yeah, the elk was a lot like there's people in this one that are up in the trees. I thought that looked very similar.
They're like, man, there's so many connections, but no, I'll save you some trouble. They both worked on the VHS movies.
Ah.
Yeah, like I said, I brought it up last time. I really like. I know we'll have to watch them at some point. We'll find a way to work them in there.
Just all of them.
I think his. I mean, we can start talking about the movie. This is directed by Gareth Evans, who did The Raid 1 and 2. He's done this. His newest movie, Havoc, I think is pretty good. It's also a Netflix movie with Tom Hardy. And I think he worked on VHS 2, and I think his segment on VHS 2 is probably my favorite one on there. So, I mean, I pretty much like everything that he does. Did
you like this movie?
I do like this movie.
I would put this in the like category too.
It's a slower one. This is. I mean, when he gets into the action scenes, they're reminiscent, but this is I don't want to say the least like the rest of his movies, which are known for being like nonstop action for the entire runtime. They're very fast paced and there's a lot going on in them. Again, when he does the action scenes in this film, you can tell it's the same director because he has that really handheld, like the camera's just whipping all over the place while he's doing it, but not
constantly moving.
Not in a way though. He doesn't do like jump cuts in his fights. He just like moves the camera, has the camera moving all over the place. So all the action scenes are still very readable, unlike a lot of American action films where they're just the camera's moving and then they're also just cutting 100 times in one fight that you can't even understand where the characters are supposed to be in the frame at any given time.
Yeah, I feel like the camera is very like kinetic. It's always like moving. It's constantly moving in this. And it's not like the Bourne sequels where like it's just fucking insane. But yeah, continuously moving. And I was thinking there'd be a lot of other movies where they would have fucking had more static shots. Like even when he is kind of static, he's like zooming in, like he's pushing in or pulling. Like the camera is always moving.
Camera's always moving.
I don't think there's a shot where it doesn't, but I think sometimes the camera work does him a little bit dirty because I thought that the setup, Dan Stevens is the protagonist, Thomas Richardson, and he goes to this island because his sister's been kidnapped. And the whole, the intrigue of him going there, and there's a lot of close-up shots of him and he's very kind of somber. But when it gets to like the more crazy shit in the second half, he comes off a little weird to me. Like, I don't think he's overacting. I just don't think that the camera work is doing him any justice. It's like doing a lot of faraway shots, and he looks like overly surprised by everything. And I was like, not terrible. Like, I think that the story works really well. I just think that there's like a little bit of disconnect somewhere in the back end, but it is very well competent made movie. And I don't know if it's because most of the cast, well, I'm gonna say most of the cast because oh shit, what's the main dude's name? I can't think of it. Well, not
Michael
Dan
Sheen.
Steve. Go ahead, say it.
Michael Sheen.
Yeah, Michael Sheen was fucking excellent in this, but like I kind of wish he was more of the antagonist. I mean, he kind of is, but his like right hand man or one of them becomes like the main bad guy. And I have some issues with that where like he's just not as great as the rest of them. It's not
He
just
feels a bit over the top.
yeah, he's not on the same caliber of acting, which
I
you
feel
know
like
I can forgive.
that guy, if you wanted like a better actor that's like the same type of guy, it feels like maybe you would have got like Ray Winstone or something. Like
Yeah,
that guy feels like a step down version of Ray Winstone, like really loud, over the top, like super aggressive with every character he interacts with. That like you pretty much know you're like this guy's gonna kill a lot of people in this movie.
yeah, he's like a 10, but there's like a scene towards the end where there's other characters chained up, and he's like reiterating all of his plans like a supervillain.
An
And
evil
I was like,
mastermind,
oh,
yeah.
I was like, the movie, like, it has so many things going for it, and I felt like that was just a little on the stale side. But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like this is a person that loves Resident Evil 4 and maybe some mysteries. There are a lot of little animals getting killed. Yeah, that first scene when he gets on the boat and that like goat falls through the roof, or I don't even know where the fuck it came from, but it falls and he goes to
Yeah.
hold it, and the guy just like throws it off the boat. Like
He's like,
that's
you gotta let them. They either survive or die. It's not up to us.
yeah, it's not up to us. It's like, dude, you literally just threw him in there. It's not like he saved the goat. He like if he would have just left the goat be, it'd have been fine.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. There's a lot. There is a lot going on in this movie. That a lot of stuff that's just, I guess, kind of left a mystery as to what exactly is happening with certain things. I think he's a drug addict, which they don't necessarily even really get into. You see him using that the drugs, which I guess is probably like morphine or something like that,
he's got a
frequently at the
little
beginning of the movie.
yeah, he's got a little tincture. He's dripping into his
Yeah,
mouth.
he clearly clearly does not care about whether these people really get hurt or not, because he notices something that all these people are going to an island, where they're being promised they can live, free of religious persecution or something like that. And he's got the ticket that they give him because he's supposed to be delivering the ransom for his sister. And like he notices there's something stuck to it that looks like it shouldn't be there. Like he's like, and he figures out really quick. He's like, I think there's something with this ticket. I think that's how they'll know it's me. Like they're definitely setting me up.
Yeah.
So gets he switches casually switches tickets with that guy, and then you immediately see that guy's like bag gets marked. And when they go to get off the boat, he's like held up from everybody else, and he's like, but he doesn't remotely try to be like, oh, I wonder what happened to that guy. He's just like, I guess that would have been me. I guess I would have been murdered if I hadn't switched tickets. Like he pretty much doesn't care that guy disappeared and he never sees him again. He sees him being dragged away by four guys carrying him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did forget that he sees it. He does. Yeah, I forgot that when he looks over and they're all carrying him, they're all dressed real weird too, but
They're all dressed in black. Yeah, they have their weird outfits.
bring him in to like interrogate him. There's some weird scenes like where just maybe it's the close up of him and like the type of lens that they're using where everything just looks so open. but like that where the guy marks the luggage with the X and he's like blatantly staring at it, it comes off like there's nothing around and he's just like, oh, it's like staring at it. And that happens a few times, like when the
When he's in
prophet,
the church and stuff, and he's like
yeah,
just
when that,
staring around, and you're like, yeah. When they're like, "Who's the guy that infiltrated us?" I'm like, "Is it the guy that stares at everything?" And it's like seems like super confused about everything.
yeah, there's a when they're like, oh shit, this isn't the guy. We're gonna have to find him. And they literally walk out into the bar from like that little back room where they were figuring shit out.
Yeah,
And he's just full on staring at him. And
yeah,
there's like
not trying to
no
hide it at all.
right. Yeah, so I feel like something. I feel like those shots are working against the story that I think would overall be fine.
Yeah, I love to like again the things that are kind of left a mystery that no one wants to talk about. Like the first night he's there, and they get like a curfew call, and it's like everyone get back to your houses. You gotta be in now, which they never explain. I guess presumably it's to make sure that no one's doing anything that they shouldn't be, or like going out and investigating something. But he walks by that one window and sees them like the woman cutting her arm, and she's like pouring blood into a jar. And then I love when he gets back to his like housing hotel type thing, and he walks down and just sees like there's every room has one of the jars full of, like half full with blood sitting in front of their door, and he just walks up and he's just like, huh, that's weird. And then he just takes the one across the hall, pours half of it into his, and puts them back, and he's like, that's probably fine. I don't need to do anything, which doesn't remotely seem to question that or like go to ask anyone like, what's with the jars of blood?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out about this blood stuff later. And then
Yeah,
he gets stabbed by the key because the key has like a hook for some reason, and his blood gets like sucked like unnaturally into the floor. And there's that funny, hilarious shot of like you find out that she's like a tree god person thing, but is this like old woman going just, like, licking through the, licking
which it
through the
takes a
floor.
long it takes a long time to get from like that part. I think is probably in like the first 20 minutes of the movie, and it's not until like the last 45 minutes of the movie that you finally really get the reveal that there is like this tree goddess person. Like there's a whole space in the middle where they don't even really reference anything supernatural, and it does more or less just seem like, I don't know, maybe Michael Sheen is just conning everyone by telling them there's a goddess there. But then you keep going back and you're like, but there was definitely like somebody under the floorboards drinking bloods. There's definitely got to be something.
And he did, I mean, it could have been a hallucination, but when he's in the church and the lady's walking past the windows and he notices her, but when he leaves the church, the windows are
She'd
like
have to be
too,
like 10 feet tall.
yeah, like the windows are too high for her to have walked past. And I do commend the film for like not being so blatant about
Yeah.
it. Like if you didn't fucking get it, then you didn't get it.
I didn't even. It wasn't until like the very end either, because they have that one shot when he looks outside, and yeah, that you kind of have the same thought of like, how is there a person walking that he could see out the windows? Like they'd have to be ridiculously tall or floating, and it does show for like a second. You see like the flowers growing on the side of the building,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like such like a small like plant that, well, literally it's a plant for something much
Yeah.
later that you don't even think of for the longest time
Or they're like
that
dying or
was even
something,
there.
right? Like it's like a
Yeah, well, the
plague
plants
of
grow,
some
but
sort.
then they like die immediately. Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean we get a little bit more of why they kidnapped his sister because he comes from this rich family and they're not too keen on Michael Sheen's character being able to like revive the island through his religion. He has kind of a little bit of Michael Sheen's kind of flashback where like ends up on the island when he's talking about how it like saved him, which I'm guessing he was at sea for a while. But he's with two other guys, but I only see the back of their heads, so I'm assuming it is like his two right hand dudes. I don't know who else is with him, but there's three people that
the
discover those.
guys. Yeah,
and it gets kind of elaborate, like in places where I don't really know if it had to be his little trapdoor, which leads to, I don't know what you call it, the barn where this woman's being held captive or whatever
Yeah,
against her
can't
will.
tell how far away anything is. Yeah, you don't get like a full geometry of how far away is that building from the main people. Obviously, everyone else seems to be kept separated from the goddess, and they all kind of the way they talk about it, the way Michael Sheen and his guys talk about it, they reference the goddess, but it feels like yeah, no one else has ever seen her. I think the only people that have ever seen him is the seen the goddess is the three of them, Michael Sheen and his two guys. Like everyone else is not allowed there, but they don't really seem to like guard it. But I guess there's the dude with the mask, who again is never explained as to like
He's the chainsaw guy
what he
from
is.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, he very much is, and it's like it's never explained. Is he just a guy that wears a mask like that, or is he also some type of like magical being? He seems impervious to like most things and doesn't talk and is like a creature. Yeah, like you said, it is very much it makes you think of a Silent Hill or Resident Evil character for sure. But they just kind of leave that in the air. You know, this movie definitely has a I think probably another huge inspiration, I'm sure, is The Wicker Man. There's like a
Yeah.
ton of things that reference that. The kid with the mask when like they're having like their party feels like a part of that, which I do like that moment. It's like one of the few kind of comedic random moments when that kid's staring at him with that real creepy mask and he does the finger guns and the kid just goes, oh, and then like runs away from him.
Yeah, giggles.
He like over the top like reacts to it, which you're expecting like this kid's gonna be do something to him or I don't know rat on him that he's the outsider or something, and he just does a funny thing and runs off.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the B drama needed work. There's like the subplot with the two guys' kids, the two right hand man's kids. Has a boy and one has a girl, and he gets her pregnant. I had to look him up because he looked real familiar to me, and now I know exactly where I know him from. He's
From what?
Magneto in X-Men First Class for like the opening
Ugh,
scene.
I wouldn't have. I mean, I had the same thought of like I feel like I've seen that guy in a movie, but I just was like assuming that maybe yeah that it was probably something random that I wouldn't even remember if I tried to look it up.
It's from your favorite movie, First Class.
Ooh, that
Yeah,
class.
even he I didn't think was too bad, but like that first night when they're coming back from the fucking each other in that boat, and then Richardson, Dan Stevens' character, like sees them, and then he eventually like holds it against the kid, so the kid's like in his corner. I don't know. I think it works out a little too like convenient that that he was able to find something on somebody so fast, as opposed to when he's wandering around the village or whatever, that like nobody's like, "Hey, dude, you can't be here." You know what I mean? Like he's staring in a couple windows for quite some time, and
Yeah,
I mean, they do show him when he has his version of the Bible or whatever. He's mapping out the town, which he does a really great job because, like, his first night out, he's like fucking drawing. He like draws like the whole goddamn town. He's labeling them. I can't read his handwriting, so I don't really know what
yeah.
he's
I couldn't tell
writing.
what that word was. Yeah.
I can't. He's like, hey, I got to write with this shitty pencil. So
I
like,
mean, at least most of the people didn't have any super strong British accents that were so over the top that I had to put subtitles on.
yeah,
I only had to put subtitles on because I was eating chips because I'm fat.
yeah, but yeah, and I think like you brought up the basket head type guy. Honestly, the first time that I mean, I think you see him. I think he's the guy that opens the barn door when the prophet comes out through the ground. But like when Dan Stevens is like going through like the tunnel and he's trying to hide because they're pinning him down, so he does have an escape route of like this weird waterway, and he gets like chased by I'm guessing a version of this goddess woman. But then Michael Sheen's character walks in. He's like talking to the goddess or something, and the basket head guy is like dragging a body or something past them. And for a minute, I thought it was Dan Stevens' character, like he just put something on his head, and they like totally were ignoring the fact that he was there. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. Let's just put the thing on your head and sneak out, like you belong.
I didn't think that was him at that time, but I thought later on in the movie at some point I was like, oh, maybe he'll like disguise himself and that's how he'll get around something. I had like a separate thought similar to that could be him at some point.
Well, it was very quick, like, oh, that's not him, but like that's the first scene where you see him like dragging that thing and he like goes around. I'm like, what is he doing? Where did he get that thing? It's not him at all. No.
I do
Uh
I do really like I think one of the probably the best scenes in the movie for like it works really well for building some tension because kind of like you're saying, you're like, well, how are they not going to catch this guy? Like he seems so obvious that they'll figure out who it is really quick when Michael Sheen brings everyone into the church, like all the newcomers, and he's like, well, I'm going to figure out who it is, and they're all lined up, and he starts by like having them recite specific passages from this Bible, and you immediately know like Dan Stevens' face of like, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna have me say. Like I've never read that book. I have no clue what it's gonna be. And it slowly makes its way, and then when it gets to that guy right before him, and you see him start reaching for a knife, and you're like, what's happening? And then immediately, guy pops up as an assassin, trying to murder him.
the Deus Ex Machina, like it just totally fixes itself. There's
Yeah,
no like clever way for Dan Stevens' character to like talk him out of it. The only thing he does that's kind of creative is like he lunges for the knife to like stop the guy. So he seems like he's on their side. And then they like
yeah.
violently spear the man, which does kind of have those raid shots where it was just like this insane first person perspective of them throwing the spears and then pulling the camera back and they're like all through him. Yeah, but I mean, I guess we got to kind of move towards the end, which is there is this goddess that we were talking about. It's not just an old woman with a bunch of branches and shit around her, and they keep feeding her like. I mean,
Blood.
yeah, I don't know if she's even demanding this stuff. They just keep wanting to kill people to be like give her offerings, and I'm sure she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm a pagan god, but guys, you really don't have to do this. Like, no, nobody's asking, nobody's asking you to do this. And there were still some shots with that I thought were weird, where I'm like, she was making me think of Game of Thrones with the three-eyed raven, where the old dude was just like stuck in the roots of that tree. It was like the exact same kind of shot, and she was fine, but like, yeah, he gets his sister or goes to get his sister. He burdens this woman.
That was another scene I'll say like again talking about Dan Stevens not never being as soon as he gets his sister, I'm like, they're talking way too loud. Like some of
Yeah,
that guy with the basket on his head's gonna come around the corner and like attack them any second. Like I was like, they're not that shack that she's in is not that large. Like he's not that well hit. I I saw that coming from a mile away just based on the rest of the movie. I was like, he's not remotely being silent enough to sneak his way out of this.
yeah. Then they have that weird meat grinder thing, so they have this like fight, and I don't know what the fuck Dan Stevens does. Like the dude gets like the fishhook thing through on his mask, and he like Dan Stevens just like looks over and kicks an object,
He
and
like
it
it
like
like drops a weight or something, and it's
I
like
don't
it
know
like
what.
yeah, it like rips his head off or something. I don't know. Yeah,
There's some Looney Tune shit going on, and it like rips him into, yeah, takes care of him, and then he finds his sister, and I guess this other girl that's there. I don't even want to call her the love interest. I mean, like there's nothing romantic really between them. But when he goes in to fight that like bodyguard dude, oh, not the bodyguard, the right hand man dude that's like giving his
Yeah.
spiel, and he gets like fucking like stabbed like 10
Yeah.
times in the side. I'm like, well, that's not fucking good. Steven's like, I don't think you're making it through this. I also do
When he
like the
fights
shotgun
that guy
thing.
after they I mean don't skip over when they grind that guy's brain out of his head. The one guy's son,
Yeah, that was cool, I
the
guess.
giant drill.
I mean, I think this is the weird stuff because, like, in The Wicker Man, which you have to compare this to, it's like a nice little town with some odd traditions, and there's a little bit of red flags, but you don't 100% pick up on it. And in this, I think Dan Stevens' character is like expecting the weirdest of things, but like they're not remotely hiding these weird like torture devices that they have all over the island. It's not like it's a secret place. It's like 100% right out in the open, and I guess it's gruesome to watch. The his dad comes up like, "What are you doing?" No, my boy. Yeah, but I don't even 100% know what happens to Dan Stevens' character. He like
He becomes one with the island.
he like yeah melts in with the eye. Like I'm assuming he's been chosen to become one with the island because
Yeah.
Michael
Again, kind of similar
Sheen's
to the last movie. Like he's the chosen one, I guess.
yeah, because like I guess that's why he's seeing the old woman in the floating past windows and shit like that, and she chases him in that water, which I think is more so to get him to find her, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like her plan was to be killed and he fulfilled
I think
that.
it's him. I think at that point it's like he's becoming like he's taking her spot as like maybe there always has to be like a guardian of the island because I mean it seems like he kills her at the end. Like she wants him to kill her, so he burns the hut down while she's inside of it, and then he leaves, and then the island starts kind of like all their houses start catching on fire and burning down. So that's how I kind of like took that was like he was like you said like he's the chosen one, and that's what like Michael Sheen always thought he was the
Yeah,
chosen
that's the
one,
best
and
moment.
he has that
Michael
scene where
Sheen,
he's like watching him at the end, and he's like, oh nope, he's definitely the chosen one, and I'm not.
yeah, there's all this destruction. Dan Stevens is dying, and like the roots of shit are like, growing around him and inside of him and stuff. And there's that one reaction shot of Michael Sheen, and he's just disappointed. He's just like he wanted to be that guy. Like he wanted it to be him. The only thing though is like, okay, there's a lot of mystery to the point that like I don't know if we would 100% piece it together. But like Michael Sheen finds this island. He at, in the beginning, like his first like what is that called? His what's the religious version? I want to call it a seminar, but it's not a seminar. when
Sure, it's a seminar. We'll
when
go
you
with that.
when you first meet him and he's talking about like the land and how the land gave him life, but it literally just sounds like like he got lucky, like God helped him survive the sea and end up here. But like somewhere along the lines he found the island was like controlled by like an actual goddess of some sort. And I don't necessarily understand how he captured her or like how he figured out anything that how she works or what she.
They never really explained how they figured that out. Yeah, they're just like, yeah, we figured out that she makes plants grow when we give
Yes,
her blood, and they never really explain how they figured that out.
yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on there that's like not 100%. I really don't think the viewer can piece it together, or maybe they can. I'm just dumb. It could be that. It could very well be that. But yeah, and I guess the only other thing that we didn't talk about was you find out. I don't know if they said it in the beginning, but I think I missed it. But when you get Dan Stevens flashback of when he was like in China and he was a missionary and they were like torturing him
Didn't
enough
have a
that
good time.
yeah, he straight up did not have a good time in China. So he stopped believing in God or something, but now he might be a god of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's very Lost-esque because they had a ruler of the island and it was like the same kind of
And
shit.
yeah, you got to be chosen. Yeah,
Yep, there were
they all get brought to
candidates.
the island for a reason.
It was a nice island. I thought it was real pretty when they showed up. But yeah, it was like they walked into like the setting of The Witch or something like or oh what is shit, what is it? Or like 1905 I think it said.
Yeah,
In 1905 and I guess it would have been times would have been more modern-ish, but I felt that island really felt like old colonial times, like it was a couple hundred years behind what.
they're more like the Amish.
Yeah, it just I don't know. It was giving me the like witch vibes, like the witch vibes. Like it was just like this creepy old. At least I could understand them, you know. Nothing against the witch. The witch is awesome, but couldn't fuck. You know, I need the subtitles for that one. I can't understand that shit. But yeah, I mean, overall, I liked it. I'm surprised I never watched it. I've never saw a trailer for it or anything. Actually, like when I heard of it, I think I was thinking of like a completely different movie. But I do remember Dan Stevens, the Apostle. And I feel like maybe my timeline's weird, but I think he did this or this came out after Beauty and the Beast. So everybody was like, oh,
Probably.
because he's Beast. And they're like, yeah, he did this weird, like, culty type thing afterwards. And he's great.
Yeah, I mean that's the only it's the one major downside of anything that's on streaming is there's just so much that comes out and stuff will just come out and you'll never think about it because it doesn't get once it's already released onto Netflix, you'll never hear about it again because they don't necessarily go out of their way to like keep promoting it. There's never a physical release, so you'd never see it listed somewhere. So you'll until something like this where it gets brought up of, hey, you should watch this, it's like you'll just never think about it.
Yeah, or gets forgotten. It's like
Yeah.
award season, Netflix will have its shit that you can only watch there. A lot of documentaries and shit like that. But or yeah, you like, hey, there's a new Squid Game. You're like, oh shit, yeah, I gotta go watch the new Squid Game. I forgot about that. That's actually right around the corner. I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, the final season's out for that.
Yeah, probably
But
by this point, yeah.
you were exactly talking about how I felt about the new Fear Street movie, the Prom Night or whatever. I don't know what the Prom Queen. They've been making it for like they did the 3 Fear Street movies, and they greenlit another one, but it took like I don't know, fucking 3 years or something crazy, 4 years to make this new one, and it just came out like a weekend or 2 ago, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta watch that," but I keep fucking forgetting about it. I It's like, yeah, you reminded me. You're like, yeah, you hear about these things, you forget about them. I'm like, shit, it's that prom queen. Gotta get to the prom queen.
I didn't realize till just now because I was looking up something different. There's another connection. Dan Stevens is in a movie called The Ritual that just came out, the one with Al Pacino.
Yeah, I saw it was not getting good
There,
reviews.
there's there's our other connection to The Ritual. He's literally in
A
another movie
ritual
called
movie.
The Ritual.
I feel like the ritual is probably one of the most common names for a movie ever. I feel like there's a lot of the rituals.
It's probably
There's a couple apostles too, maybe the apostle.
yeah.
But yeah, it just made me think of remind me how much I like Michael Sheen. Dan Stevens was okay. Dan Stevens was like felt crazy to the extent of like he almost felt like his character from Legion. If you watched Legion at all, he just like felt like he was having like a fucking mental break. Maybe it was also because he, like you said, was a drug addict. So like that first day in this movie where like the guy knocks on his doors and like, we got fucking work to do. Dan Stevens, because he's been doing drugs, B, he's been up all fucking night, like spying on people and shit. When he goes out to work, he's like so
It's like he's
pale.
half dead.
His eye makeup's so dark around his eyes. He does look like he fucking dead guy. I kind of wish this was like longer, like a series or something, because like it could have been such a good show to be like when he was working, like yeah, he was doing things fine, but like it would also be a perfect thing to be like, dude, what are you doing? Do you even know how to do this shit? Like he's ties
Yeah,
like twine to a piece of wood. That's like the most work that you see him do.
he's
And
got that
again, it's like
axe. He
that real
chops
loud,
something.
that real loud conversation that he's having with that kid. He's like blackmailing him. Well, that scene where he's beating him up too is real weird. Where he goes out and they chop up the boat for wood, and he kind of reveals why he's there. Starts slapping the kid around. The scene goes on for too long where he's just calling him a liar. He's like, you're a liar. Well, hopefully you watched the movie before listening to this podcast, because we just fucking ruined it all. I think there's still enough mystery to it. I
Yeah,
don't think we have all the answers. I don't really know.
there's a lot going on.
There's definitely a lot going on. Is there Apostle 2? We got a Descent
One
2.
day.
We got a new Ritual movie, but I don't know if we got Apostle 2. We'll probably get a Raid 3 before we know it. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the name Gareth Evans. He's British, but for some reason I thought the Raid person was like Korean. I did not think that the Raid was a Brit. But whatever, it is what it is. I will try to find a movie that you haven't watched.
Try your hardest.
I think it'd be pretty easy, because every time I ask you if you saw something, you're like, no, not yet.
Depends if it. Yeah, if you pick anything in like the past 2 or 3 years, I'm a good 2 or 3 years behind.
Yeah, you went from seeing everything to being like, shit, 3 years behind.
Like I said, me and Martin Scorsese not going to the theaters anymore.
Yeah, now they're making commercial AMC's extending their commercials to keep
Yeah,
the ticket prices down.
sure.
I've seen some
Keeping the
good
ticket prices down at $20 a ticket usually. That's how we're keeping them down.
actually, like around here, I'll hit up a lot of the matinee things just because it's easier to see something earlier in the morning. And like the one theater near me, a movie ticket's like $6.50 or something like that. I'm like, that seems cheaper than what it was when I was like just out of high school. I felt like I'd go to a matinee and it'd be like $10. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. Maybe the commercials are working to bring the prices down on shit. But yeah, there's still a ton of things in theaters I'd like to see. You just watch the bad. You just go for the bad ones. Because yeah, you said recently, you're like, that Captain America, I'd be so bad if I saw it in theaters. I was like, I mean, it was part of my list. I did pay for it to an extent, but yeah, that was not a good movie at all. I feel really bad that Anthony Mackie got like the shit end of the stick for that movie, because I don't know what's going on. It's just like there literally nothing like happens in that movie. There's no big set pieces. There's nothing interesting happening at all.
It's just, yeah, I at the end of that, I was just like, that was like the most inconsequential Marvel movie I've ever seen in my life. Like nothing, like, I mean, the entire plot of the movie is just, we want adamantium from this thing. Well, we accidentally battled Japan for a couple hours over it, and then he turned into the Hulk. I'm like, that's the movie. Like, there's no like, there's nothing really crazy or huge that happens that does anything. I was like, yeah, I don't know.
And
Yeah, I
movies don't
like
have to
Anthony
be.
Mackie. I think he's good. I think all the characters are good. I like that. the guy that takes over Falcon for him, like that guy was fine. I didn't hate the characters or anything. It was just it just was felt like there was no purpose to that movie.
Also, too, it's like another thing with like you do kind of have to watch these fucking TV shows now, or else you're like, who the fuck are these people? Like, if you didn't watch any of the TV shows and you just jumped into this new Captain America, you'd be like, okay, I get that that's the Falcon, but I don't know who the fuck he is, and I don't know who this super soldier old guy is. Like, I don't know what the hell is happening right now.
Yeah, if you just tried to watch the movies, you'd be.
Thunderbolts was pretty good. I still don't think it's the greatest of movies, but it's a lot better than the past few have been. And I don't know, every time, like, what? It's like Fantastic Four, and then I think an Avengers movie. So a lot of shit has to happen for this Avengers shit. It's a new Marvel. I heard the new Marvel's awesome.
Yeah, the new Marvel.
Everyone's saying the new Marvel's awesome. No, I don't know. It's kind of become exactly what I thought it was, where like it definitely has become oversaturated to the point that like I'm still seeing them, but like I don't know, I'm not the most excited about them. Like Fantastic Four looks like
there.
What's that?
You're just there to be there.
I'm just there to be there. I've been trying to see movies for the most part that are like not a sequel or not part of a franchise. And there are good movies out there, but then they don't even get a lot of time in the theaters. They'll be like the first fucking thing.
They don't get wide release. Yeah.
That's like, me and Steph watched Lilo and Stitch, the original one, because we're like, oh, sure, we'll eventually see the new one. And I'm like, we probably have like a good month where that is still in the theater. It's not going anywhere. The movie's gonna stay there. But like what we were quoting with the Marvel thing, Friendship, like I don't even think that's in theaters anymore. I saw it like that first weekend. And Your Movie, I'm gonna call it Your Movie, but I've been dying to see Life of Chuck.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's only gonna be in theaters for like a week and then not available.
I think it is. It's finally a Showtime popped up around here. So I'm going to go Saturday morning to see it. And they kept showing it in Greensburg. So if you want to go to Greensburg, it's there. But it was exactly like after a week gone. Like, I don't think it's... But yeah, Bring Her Back is probably my favorite so far. It's like a little uncomfortable and clever. And I do think if you like The Apostle, I think you might like Bring Her Back. Because it's kind of that same like... There's more going on and you're kind of piecing things together. Maybe a little bit more definitive of what's going on as opposed to The Apostle. That's like, I'm going into this movie without knowing anything, and it was like a cult on an island. I thought for sure, because of the ritual, that there was going to be some sort of creature. And I guess I wasn't entirely wrong, because there was that old goddess lady.
Yeah.
But like I was expecting like a big like some deity type creature, like, you know, that they're like feeding people to. Which I guess I'm not far off. It just did not go down the way I thought. There weren't a bunch of Swedish people or Norwegian people. I don't remember. I think. All right. I'll try not to pick something on Netflix. I'll try to shake it up. And we'll see you in 2 weeks with whatever that is. Adios. We are Cinema d'Amore. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with news and information on upcoming episodes. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, Alexa, or iHeartRadio. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We also appreciate feedback, so rate us, review us, and let us know what you think. And above all else, thank you for listening.